Hello again, as you know, I am Eli, the computer guy, and today we're going to talk about being an asshole as a technology professional. Because this seems to be something so many people are worried about, they're scared of. They say, Eli, what happens if people think I'm an asshole? And I look at them and I think, well, realistically, they probably should. It's probably more important what happens if they don't think you're an asshole. Because this is just a very asinine profession, right? A lot of people out there, they talk about how rough I am and how harsh I am and how cruel I am and what kind of an asshole I am. And one of the things that I try to tell you guys in all of my videos is that I am melodramatic. But I do not try to exaggerate. So I try to beef up the assholeness in some of my videos, especially if you go over to my Eli Computer Guy Live vlog channel. But I am not actually exaggerating. There's a difference between emphasizing something, or even overemphasizing something, and exaggerating it, right? And so this is what I want to talk to you guys about today, because this is a real worry. So I do these Silicon Discourse meetings. I do like 20 mentorship meetings a week now, and I really have to say, a lot of people out there are worried. They're like, well, Eli, if I do the things that you're telling me to do, people may think I'm an asshole. And then I look at them and I say, well, if you don't do the things I'm telling you to do, how do you believe you will get ahead in your career? And then there's just that weird, awkward silence. You know, that awkward silence where people are like, well, Eli, it's not that I don't agree with your argument, I just don't want your argument to be true. You're like, right? I'm not here to talk to you guys about this utopian world you all imagine you live in. I'm just here to talk about the brass tacks of reality. So the first thing that I want to talk to you guys about is the idea that our profession at its core, everything else, I'm going to talk about a lot of things today with assholeness, but at its core, what I would argue is our profession is one of assholeness. Right? Just pure and utter assholeness. And if you understand that, then everything else I talk about today will make a lot more sense. And now you're sitting there and you're like, Eli, what do you mean our industry is about assholeness? Our industry is about changing the world. Our industry is about making people's lives better. Our industry is about making wonderful things and cool stuff, right? How can you say at our core that our industry is about assholeness? And the issue is a lot of IT professionals, a lot of technology professionals, they look at the world through their nice little rose-colored glasses, right? If you work in Google, all of you see is how you're making the world better. If you're working in the IT department of your company, you've actually got a nice, decent-sized IT department, all you see is how you're making the company more efficient, right? You're increasing return on investment. You're increasing widgets out the door, right? If you work in any of these, these small startup companies, these app development companies, all you see is all this great, wonderful stuff that is happening. But what you have to really think about for the technology profession is what you have to ask is, what do we do? What do we really do? You strip out MCSEs, and you strip out Linux, and you strip out CCIEs, and you strip out Ruby on Rails, and you strip out all of these things, and you ask, what do we do? And at the end of the day, what we really do is we make our companies or our organizations more efficient. That is it. If you strip out all the other crap, all the degrees and the certifications and the technology and this, that, and the other, what we do, what we get paid for is to make our companies more efficient. When you sit there and you think about, well, right? How can you say that's bad? How can you say that's asshole-ish? Well, because think about what making your company more efficient really means. It means that each individual person is able to do more work. And if each individual person is able to do more work, that means you need less people. You need fewer people to do the same amount of work. So basically, our job, by increasing efficiency, means we are literally paid to put other people out of jobs. That is what we are paid for. And I would appreciate it if you get out of this utopian mindset where you imagine our job is anything else. We are the great destroyers, right? When we talk about creative destruction, we are the destruction. We are the ones putting professors out of work. We are the ones putting journalists out of work. We are the ones stripping away, all of these low-skill jobs that used to get paid a lot of money. We are the ones that destroy those jobs. That is what we do. But you say, but Eli, no. But it's creative destruction. You got creative destruction. Because remember, whenever we're going to come up with some little buzzword, we have to put some really, really good utopian, thing in front of it. Creative destruction. Yes, and there is creative destruction, but we are the destroyers. The creative people that try to create better jobs out of the ashes of what we destroy, that's a task for somebody else. That's a task for the artists, that's a task for the marketing department, that's a task for the lawyers, that's a task for the business people, that's a task for the CEOs. The creative part of creative destruction is a task for everybody other than us. That is not our job. Our job is to make our organization or business as efficient as possible. And the definition of making things as efficient as possible is to eliminate jobs, right? And so that's the first thing that I want to talk about when we're talking about this whole idea of assholeness in the technology profession is remember, that's what we do. That is what, when you look at it, when you look at talking about how much better Google AdWords is than a newspaper ad, right? Hey, that brings so much more business to the company or whatever. But again, that means a newspaper or some other organization means it's being destroyed because of what we have created. So the first thing that I want you guys to realize is just as far as what we do in the world, we are the assholes. We are the, we can get really good pay and we can get really good benefits and we can get ping pong tables and we can get foosball tables and we can go out and we can have drinking parties and we can talk about how cool we are and we can try to put some kind of pillow between us and the rest of the world. But the reality is our job in the world is to destroy. It is to increase the efficiency. And so if you understand that, I think you will be able to deal with our profession much better. Again, because everybody looks through the rose-colored glasses of some employee in the middle of Google looks around and everything they see is wonderful. Well, it's because Google's so damn big. You got tens of thousands of employees. Of course, you start to think that the rest of the world works that way, and it doesn't. The rest of the world is everybody else that you're putting out of jobs. And so if you understand that, then I think you can understand better, again, how you interact with your peers, how you interact with your fellow team members, how you interact with your users, and how you interact with the CEO and bosses and all that kind of stuff. Now, the first thing that I'll say is if anybody calls you an asshole, or anything along those lines, as far as women are concerned, bitches, right? If you're called an asshole or a bitch, the first thing that you should really do, and the last thing that you should really do, is dismiss that person as worthless. So one of the things is, in the modern world, right? In the modern world, we're all supposed to be polite. One of the reasons I rub people the wrong way is because I'm not polite and I'm not nice and I'm not following along with all this, cozy, nice crap, right? And so the thing is we are told in this modern world that we're all supposed to be nice and we're supposed to be polite and we're supposed to get along, even though that doesn't really work. That doesn't really work most places. The only way that really works is if you have a group of people that are basically like-minded to begin with, and then they're all nice and polite because they all look at the world basically the same way. Again, if you talk about tech companies, you'll hear about something called culture. And one of the reasons it's so important that companies hire employees with the same cultural mindset as the company is the closer the employee's mindset is with the company's mindset, the easier it goes. You don't have to worry about being polite. You don't have to worry about assholes. If everybody kind of thinks the same way, right? If everybody looks at the world basically the same way and thinks basically the same way and communicates basically the same way, then you don't run into issues, right? Because everybody's on the same path. The problem you get into is with a lot of companies is they get so many diverse mindsets. Again, not skin color, not language, not gender or sex or any of that, but mindsets that then you run into a lot of issues. So sometimes you'll hear people, and basically what they'll do is they'll say, "Oh, you're an asshole." Again, like I say, if you watch any of my videos, you're an asshole. Or if you're a woman, you're a bitch, right? And what you have to realize is that this is a form of manipulation. Because basically, remember in the human world, how we exist, is we were never built to be individual creatures. In the modern world, there's this idea that we're supposed to be individual creatures, that we can survive as individual creatures, and that simply isn't so. Even just from the base concept, if we want the species to continue existing, you need two people. So as soon as you got a second person, individual goes out the window. Again, as soon as you get married, whoo, individual goes out the window. But anyways, but even beyond just like spousal, there's a lot of research done on basically that we're supposed to work as a tribe. The idea is that humans were best built to work in tribes of approximately 40 individuals. So with those 40 individuals, you have some that are hunters, some that are gatherers, some that do things like create clothing or create tools, some that do babysitting, and some that do education, right? That in order for us to really function, that we're not individuals or even couples, but it's that we're supposed to operate as tribes. And so the thing is, in that tribe, then humans, we normally have to fall into some kind of hierarchy. You know, there is the leader of the tribe, the assistant leader of the tribe, and the leader of the hunters, and the leader of the gatherers, and the leaders of the stone thing. You know, basically, you know, what you get into. And almost you get kids together, you get any group together, and there will start to become leaders, and there will start to become clique leaders, is just how we work. And so what you have to understand, if somebody calls you an asshole, or somebody calls you a bitch, what they are trying to do is they are trying to cement their dominance over the situation. The reason being is because you can't stop being an asshole, and you can't stop being a bitch. It's literally impossible, because it really doesn't mean anything. Right, so if you say, Eli the computer guy is too blunt with his opinions, see, that is a criticism I can do something with. Okay, maybe I am too blunt with the way that I explain things. Eli the computer guy is too harsh with his comments. Again, maybe I need to tone things down a little bit. Eli the computer guy does not take other people's emotions into consideration. That's actually not true, but that's something I can sit there, I can think about, right? But if you call me an asshole, or if I had a female version of me and you called her a bitch, right, there's nothing functional you can do about that. How do I stop being an asshole? What does an asshole really even mean, right? What does a bitch even really mean? What it's trying to do is, this person is calling you an asshole, this person is calling you a bitch, in order to submit their superiority over you in the hierarchy. Because what they are saying is that I am in a position to be able to denounce you. My ego is so high that I believe you are below me. And so here's the thing, in the real world, right? So two things can happen. If you're called an asshole, if you're called a bitch, you can sit there and one of two things can happen. What happens with most people, which is very stupid and ridiculous and just, right, is they go, oh, I'm so sorry. So think about this. In this situation, why is this other person superior? Why does this person have a position to denounce you? They don't. You're equal. You may even actually be above them, realistically, in the pecking order. You just may not realize it. But by them being able to call you an asshole and bitch, and you accepting that label, you are now saying that they are above you, and you are accepting the label that they give you, and then now you try to change yourself. Oh, I don't want to be an asshole. Who wants to be an asshole? Who wants to be a bitch? I'm sorry. But here's the problem. Then you sit there worrying about what your actions are doing to get you condemned by that person. Because there is no specific action here. Right? Again, it's not that you're too blunt. It's not that you don't take people's emotions into consideration. It's not that it is just this idea of assholeness. Right? And that's one of the big issues that you run into. And so, again, when somebody is denouncing you and then you accept that, then you are getting into a constant situation of inferiority. And so that inferiority will be with your teammates, because when your teammates call you an asshole, then you're lower than your teammates. When you go out and deal with the users, and the users call you an asshole, well, now you're lower than the users. When you go to the CEO, when the CEO calls you an asshole, now you're lower than the CEO. And now as a technology professional, you have all of this responsibility, all of these issues dumped on you at the same time that you have accepted that you are the inferior. How the hell does that work out? Right? How the hell does that work out? So what I would argue is when you get these issues and somebody calls you an asshole or a bitch or anything like that, you basically give them the middle finger and go on. Why the hell do you believe that you are on such a pedestal, that your ego is so huge, that your arrogance is so insurmountable, that you're going to be declaring other people assholes and bitches and all that kind of stuff? That person is the one that is worthless, right? Because again, it's a form of manipulation to get you to do what they want you to do. And again, when you're going to be using forms of manipulation like that, what you have to realize is most people don't have the interests of the organization at heart. They don't even a lot of times have their own damn interests at heart, right? It's from a fear level. It's from a cowardice level. They are scared. When you come in and you control a situation, they are scared because they do not feel that they are strong. If you come in and control the situation, what they are worried about is that they lose control. If they lose control, they're worried about losing their job or whatever else. And so for them, there's two ways this can go. If somebody comes into your world and they seem much stronger than you, they seem much superior than you can either step up. You can either up your game, you can learn more, you can study harder, you can work to do what needs to be done so that your position is secure, or you can try to manipulate the other person to make them feel insecure and keep them down. And again, is that somebody that you want to be dealing with? It's not somebody that I want to be dealing with, right? And so this is something to be thinking about. Whenever anybody insults you in one of these generic ways, that means that they are a stinking pile of crap. Right? Again, anybody calls me an asshole, anybody calls me, if I was a woman, a bitch or anything like that, they're just a piece of garbage. And they're too stupid, cowardly to even realize it, right? So that's one of the things to be thinking about. Now, when we go out and we start dealing with our teams, one of the issues to be thinking about is that many times we are going to have to do actions that can be labeled assholish. Right? And you sit about it, you're like, no, Eli, no, this is our team. Right? Eli's all about that old military, paramilitary team environment. Why would we be assholes on the team? No, we're one big happy family. Well, the issue is, unfortunately, when you're dealing with military or paramilitary teams, I was talking about this to a soldier, and we were discussing this about civilian employee or military type employees versus civilian employees. And one of the things I was telling them is, one of the issues with going to the civilian world is that many people that you're dealing with don't even really know why they're there. So when you're dealing with the military, the paramilitary world, it is a weird world. It is a world where you may die, you may get injured, you're not necessarily paid the best. So everybody on your team has a reason for being there. You may not overly appreciate the reason that they're there, but they know in their heart why they're there. It may be for their family, it may be to improve their lot in life, it may be some horrible racist things about going off and shooting people that look different than you, but they all know why they're there. The problem is once you get into the civilian world and you have members of a team, a lot of the people on your team don't even really know why they're there. When they were born, they were told they had to go to kindergarten, and then they were told they had to go to grade school, and then they were told they had to get really good grades in junior high school or middle school so that they could do well in high school, and then they were told then they needed to get really good grades in college, and then if they got really good grades in college, that means they got a decent job, and then they're at that decent job because basically that's what they were told that they were supposed to do. They don't really know why they're there. They don't really, again, when we talk about, whether a company is good or bad or what should be done, all they know is that they go in and they punch the clock and they get paid. A lot of people really don't grasp, again, why the hell people are employed. And so the issue that you get into is you, as a technology professional, are going to get promotions and pay raises and all that kind of stuff based on your successful projects, your successes, right? You deploy Server 2016. You migrate from Windows 7 to Windows 10. You migrate from Windows 10 to Linux. You deploy a BYOD solution, security solution for the company, right? You are going to get promoted upon your successes. The issue that you run into, though, again, everybody has this idea of the individual. My success. Eli, my success. Me. But the problem is right, you're in an organization. In order for the project to be successful, it's not your success, it's the project success. In order for the project to be successful, you have to deal with a lot of different people. So you have to deal with the different members on your team, you have to deal with the CEO, you have to deal with all the users, so on and so forth. And so if any person doesn't have buy-in to the overall project, they can help destroy the project and make it a failure. If the CEO doesn't budget enough money for the project, right? You have to deploy, a new BYOD solution. The licenses cost $10,000 a piece. It's going to cost you $100,000 in licenses, and then the CEO only allocates $80,000. Again, when you're talking about things like licenses, you either bought them or you didn't, right? If they don't give you enough money for the licenses, the project is going to fail regardless. If you don't get buy-ins from the users, the project can fail. And so one of the issues that you run into is with team members is that sometimes they just are not doing their job. This can be especially difficult in the IT world where they don't hire enough of us to begin with. Again, real good IT professionals are expensive as hell. Right? So they don't want to hire, most companies don't want to hire very many of us. So the problem is usually we're working on small teams. We are working on teams that barely have enough manpower in order to do the work that's put on us. And then if you have somebody that is slacking off or not doing the job, that means everybody else on the team gets all of that added responsibility. So instead of doing a 40-hour, if you have 5 people on a team, instead of 5 people doing 40 hours a week, you have 4 people doing 6 or 50 hours a week because that one person, just can't be bothered to do their job. And so one of the things that you have to realize is a lot of times you have to be an asshole with fellow team members many times to get them the hell out. Again, as I talk about it, throwing people under the bus is if you want to have a normal life, if you want to be able to have any kind of sanity, if you have people on your team that are not pulling their weight, you have to get rid of them. Basically the idea is you either have to bring them up to the standards that they should be at, or you have to get rid of them. The problem is, again, in the technology world, it's kind of like herding cats. Managing technology professionals is like herding cats, and so they are what they are. They're either lovable or they're mean. They either work hard or they're lazy. When you hire a sysadmin and they've got their MCSE and they've got their 10 years experience, trying to bring somebody like that up to a higher speed can be absolutely and utterly brutal. And then the issue that you have is that most bosses don't want to fire employees because if they fire employees, they have to worry about legal concerns, they have to worry about unemployment insurance, they have to worry about do they really want to deal with hiring another person. So sometimes in order to get rid of somebody, you just have to be kind of nasty ass brutal. You have to make it understood that they don't belong here no more and they ain't gonna have no fun until they find a job in a company that fits their culture. Again, you may not like it. You're like, oh man, that's kind of harsh. But again, what are you going to do? If you have a 5-person team, one person on your team simply isn't doing the job, the bosses refuse to fire the person, refuse to have any kind of reasonable discipline policy or any of that. Basically, at the end of the day, you can either be an asshole and try to get them the hell out of the job, or you're going to be pulling 50-hour shifts, right? The rest of your career with that company. So the first thing to be thinking about, assholes and companies and all that. Again, remember, your success is based on your projects. If your projects fail, that's not good by anybody, Right? So sometimes you got to be assholes to the fellow team members, even if they're not up to snuff. The next thing is being assholes to users, right? Now, one of the issues that you run into in life is that users, your clients, your customers sometimes, they get very scared of technology professionals. Right, it's just how it is, right? The world is changing. The world is changing incredibly quickly. 10 years ago they said the world was changing fast, and now it's changing twice the speed it was before. And a lot of people simply don't understand what's going on. Their mind doesn't work in the modern way. There's ways to interact with the world. There's ways that you imagine that the world should be, and there's just a lot of people that simply fundamentally don't understand how this modern world works. They just don't get it. They just don't grasp it. And so one of the issues that you run into is, again, we go back to that whole thing, that hierarchy thing, that whole issue of people trying to retain power. So one of the issues that you run into with users many times is that they feel that they are losing their power to technology. You are the purveyor of technology. You are the speaker of the system. Again, this is something that I'll reiterate 1,000 times in all my videos. You are the ambassador of the system. You are of the system. You're not even really of the company or of the users or anything else. You are of the system. The system is you're what the speaker for. And so when you come a lot of times with the users, they will treat you like crap because they are trying to regain their sense of power. They are trying to feel that they are not simply a cog in the machine, that they matter. Problem is that they don't. Many modern employees, the reality is they are cogs in the machine. Again, if they don't like it, they can go be florists. If they don't like it, they can go do something else. The issue is that's what they are. They are cogs in the machine. They're replaceable cogs in the machine. If you look at modern management practices, right? Again, I read a lot of stuff, a lot of different, oh my God, modern management practice is brutal. It is brutal. The cogification of employees, and it really is. It's the idea of how can we create workflows that are so simple that we can have people within those workflows that are literally replaceable. How can we come up with jobs that literally it only takes a day to teach somebody the job? That you can teach them the job in a day and they'll be proficient in a week, and then they'll just start earning the company profit after that, right? That is literally what companies are looking to do, and it's what they are doing and have been doing for a couple of decades. And so the problem is you have all these employees that feel like cogs in the system, because frankly they are cogs in the system. You are the person that comes and they feel that you are higher than them, that they are losing all their autonomy and everything for this technology or whatever. And so they start screwing with you. Again, and one of the things that you find, and I've been surprised by, is how often users will screw with tech professionals. Again, you go to fix their computer. Oh no, I can't have you fix it right now, right? They put in a work order. They say, my computer is not working properly. You come immediately, because the system is broken, I need to fix it. You come immediately as soon as you get the work order, and then, oh, no, I can't have you working on my computer right now. What I'm doing is too important, right? Or you go, and basically, I used to have this, is you go and you're going to work on somebody's computer at, let's say, 11:30, and they say, well, no, I'm going to go to lunch at noon, so you can just come back then. So, basically, you want me to work while you're at lunch. You know what? I got to eat too, right? And so you run into all these issues with the users. And again, that's where you've got to come in. And so you've just got to start being the asshole. Listen, you put in a work order. I am here to fix your computer. If you do not want me to fix your computer, I will close out this work order. You tell me what's going to happen. Because again, you've got a backup of work orders. Again, if you're the tech support at most companies, they hire about as many as they need. So if you have 10 work orders to do in the day, you need to process those 10 work orders. If you have people that keep saying, no, I can't have you fix my computer now, you're not going to be able to get through those work orders, right? So you go to them and you say, look, I have your work order. I'm here to fix your computer. Let me have your computer. Oh, no, I can't have it now. Okay, that's fine. So you're accepting that the work order is closed. Whoa. All right? Because that's the thing, is the issue is they are the cog, you're not. And so this is one of those things that you have to be thinking about when you're dealing with the users. Again, when you go to the things like with lunch or whatever, oh, well, I'll be at lunch at noon. You'll be like, great, I will too. I guess you need to take your lunch earlier. Again, if you walk into an environment, let's say you have you walk into the sales floor of a company, right? You have 50 salespeople for that company. You may have 4 tech people. Who's the cog here, right? Sales will keep going. And so that's one of the things to be thinking about, because again, there's all of this power play, and the issue is if you get bogged down in the power play, then you can't do your job. And again, what are you going to get your promotions based off of? What are you going to get your pay based off of? What are you going to, when you're going through and they're doing your review, what is all that based off of? That is based off whether the systems are doing what the hell the systems are supposed to do, right? So again, that's another thing we're thinking about being an asshole is yes, you simply have to accept being an asshole sometimes, because if you don't, again, why should you work 50 hours a week simply because somebody else is a whiny ass cog? And that's what they don't even think about. Again, like I said, I ran into that so much. Oh, I'm going to go to lunch at noon. You can work on my computer then. It's like, motherfucker. What is that telling you? That this little whatever feels that they are so superior that they should be able to take lunch at a reasonable time and that you should just deal with it. All right, now, balls to that, right? And so that's, again, one of those issues you have to think about. Then the final thing is being an asshole to the CEO or the management. And this is one of the hardest things to do, right? Because one of the issues that a lot of the tech people don't realize is that CEOs and managers basically are administrators of what I call the organic systems. So we are administrators of the inorganic systems. They are administrators of the organic systems. And the organic systems are us, right? The two-legged systems. So they go in and basically, if you're a manager of a company, what you have to do is you have to tweak and you have to administer all of these people to somehow keep the business going in a specific direction. And God bless these people. Spaghetti monster bless these people, because I don't know how the hell they do it. How you keep 1,000 people going in anything direction is beyond me. I'm not exaggerating there. I'm not even being that melodramatic. It is beyond me. How you get 1,000 people somehow moving the ball forward is just like, doesn't make sense to me. And so one of the issues that you run into, especially with the managers, is that their job is to push you. Again, when you push your computers to do more because you don't want to buy a new server. So let's say you have a server, it's pegging out the processor or something. So you go in there and you're like, well, maybe if I try to overclock this server, I'll be able to keep this server working, and I won't have to, get a requisition or whatever for a new $5,000 or $10,000 server. So you overclock the server. It's stable, it works fine. Maybe not what I would do, maybe a little bit of duct tape, because do you really want to be overclocking a server? But it does, it functions, right? Well, remember, your CEO, your manager, your boss, they're looking at you the same way you look at that server. They're thinking about, I wonder if I can overclock this geek. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, so I hired this geek to work 40 hours a week at this pay rate. But if this geek worked 45 hours a week, again, like I say, it's like, let's say you're on a team, and the team really needs 5 people, right? So, so let's say it's you have 200 man hours per week, woman hours, Z hours, person hours per week of job, right? And so basically, you need 5 people doing 40 hours per week to hit 200. But they kind of sit there and they kind of think about it. And like, well, but what if we can overclock these geeks? Instead of hiring another person, that's going to cost another $50,000 to $100,000 a year, especially once you add benefits and everything else. What if I just got these 4 geeks to work 50 hours a week? 4 times 50 still comes out to 200 hours. That's a bonus for the company. Again, remember, the company is about profit. Right or wrong, that's what companies are about. They are built for profit. So if they can keep from spending an extra $50,000 to $100,000 a year on a geek, that means that's an extra $50,000 to $100,000 that can go into the profit side of the equation, and it's all good. And so one of the issues that you run into with managers and CEOs and all that kind of stuff is they understand how to administer organic systems, right? And how you administer organic systems is by tweaking the right emotional pressure points. And this can be very difficult, especially for geeks, because a lot of geeks don't, and technology professionals, they don't interact. They're not socially developed in the way that other people are socially developed, and so when they start getting manipulated by their managers, it can work too well, but it can start to cause issues. All right, so basically you go in and the boss starts talking, you get that extra 10 hours a week, and the boss starts talking about how vital you are to the company. I want you to know how vital I wouldn't want to have to give you this 10 or 20 extra hours a week, but you have to understand you are vital to this company. Yes, let me tell you, you pissant little help desk employee are vital to that company. You're not vital to the company, but they know they can manipulate you. They know if they tell you you're vital to the company, well then, somebody who's vital to the company, they can't go home after 40 hours. I'm vital to the company, right? Oh yeah, I just got to keep working. And then you keep working and you keep working and keep working until you hit burnout. And then guess what? You burned out. And again, you're not as replaceable as the cogs. But you're a sprocket. Sprockets are a little harder to replace than cogs, but they are replaceable. And remember, they got a lot of extra work out of you very inexpensively, very cheaply, right? And so that's where you run into with managers, is so many times they put all these pressures on you because, one, they really don't understand what we do. They don't understand how we work. Like when we're sitting there and we're just looking at a computer screen, we're just like, right? They think we're taking a nap. When in reality, our brain is moving 1,000 miles an hour. We're just not really sure what the answer is, right? You sit there and you look at a server room, and how many times did I sit in a chair in a server room just looking at all the equipment? Now again, if you're a manager or boss and you walk in and you see me sitting down simply staring at equipment, you think I'm being lazy. No, what's really happening is in my little brain, I'm trying to figure out how all of those systems actually communicate with each other. Because I know as soon as I take this one little system down over here, if I don't do it right, it's going to crash the rest of the network. So I have to make sure, I can't just go and start working. I have to go, okay, so this system talks to that system. This system talks to that system. Now this system gets information from this system, but the information that it's getting from this system is there because it replicates from that system. So if I pull this out, this system is no longer going to be getting the information that it needs. Okay, so I'm going to keep that there. So maybe, it synchronizes every 4 hours. So I'll force a manual synchronization so this data is up to date. So I can pull this server out, do the work that I need, and before the 4 hours is up, I'll be able to have that system back up and running, right? I have to think about stuff like that. But again, the CEO or the manager walks in and they just go, fuck, look at Eli again. Damn, I want Eli's job. Look at Eli. Man, every time I see Eli, he's just sitting in that chair with his cup of coffee, drinking a cup of coffee, just looking at stuff. Man, I'd like a job where I could just look at stuff. And you're like, dude, I'm not looking at stuff. Figuring out what the hell's going on, right? And so that's the issue, is you have, like I say, these managers, and they push 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 and they push. And then I talk to you guys. Like I say, I do these meetings, silicondiscourse.com. And they're like, but Eli, I don't want to be seen as the asshole. I don't want them to think I'm an asshole. It's like they're going to keep pushing until something breaks, right? Until you push back or till you burn out, whichever those ones happen. And I think that's a good way to think about it. Is basically what you have to think about what managers are trying to do is that they're trying to overclock you, right? And so that's where you have to push back. You're like, you're vital to this. I want you to understand you're vital to this company. And you just look back at the CEO and go, well, that's kind of stupid. What do you mean? It's like, well, if I'm vital to this company, what happens if I have a heart attack? Well, so if I'm really that vital to this company, what you really need to do is you really do need to hire another person. Because frankly, my workday stopped 5 minutes ago. So unless you want to start paying me overtime, I need to go home. Right? But this is something that you guys need to think about. Now, the one thing I will say when you're dealing with CEOs and managers and all that and the whole asshole thing is you do have to figure out what you actually want out of life and what you find is acceptable. Because one of the things that you find being an asshole is that it's a lot easier once you are comfortable with yourself, once you are confident, right? A lot of people try this manipulation and all this kind of stuff from a position of weakness, from a position of fear. And when you do things from a position of weakness, when you do things from a position of fear, things can spiral out of hand in a heartbeat, right? So if you're walking around your company and you're acting like you're the greatest thing in the world, when in reality nobody has given you a job offer in 5 years, that can be a dangerous proposition because you're acting like the greatest thing in the world. You're willing to be the asshole, and then one day finally the CEO is done with it. Like, I don't like dealing with this person. That's where you have to be careful because you don't have any job offers coming in. Nobody has said that you're actually that good. But that's where I would argue is that's why you guys need to be out there and you need to be constantly talking with people. You need to be constantly networking with people. You need to constantly be improving your skill set. So when you do go in and you talk to the CEO, when you do talk with the team members, when you do talk with the users, you can walk in and go, listen, I don't need to deal with this crap, right? If you want to be the best asshole in the world, if you want to be a successful asshole, this is how to be a successful asshole in the technology field. Be good enough that whenever you're dealing with anybody, if they are interacting with you in a way that you feel is improper, you can look them in the eye and say, I don't need to deal with this. Right? If you don't like how I do work, I literally can get a job tomorrow. Because if you're dealing with users, if you're dealing with team members, if you're dealing with bosses, they will interact with you better, right? So again, if you're on that team, so we're talking about being an asshole on a team. If you go up to the team lead and you say, listen, I'm not working 50 hours a week because he's a lazy son of a bitch. She is a lazy son of a bitch. I'm not being sexist here. Z's can be lazy sons of bitches too, right? Just because they are lazy doesn't mean I'm working 50 hours a week. And that team leader, well, Eli, but. You're like, no buts. I came to this job for 40 hours a week. You either keep me on a 40-hour-a-week schedule or I'm gone. But. You're like, but what about the rest of the people on the team? Well, if they want to work 60 hours a week, that's their business. I'm not doing it. Well, man, you're kind of coming off as an asshole. Team lead. Are you going to call me an asshole? Whoa, what do you mean? Look, I already got a couple of job offers. If you want to push me over 40 hours a week, and you want to even go anywhere near the comment of me being an asshole, maybe I need to go find another job, and you and everybody else on the team can then be doing 70 hours a week, because I'll be gone, that person is still not doing a damn thing, and you're screwed. Right? Again, like I say, with the users, if you're good, if you're confident with what you're doing, one of the things is again one of the things that people worry about is, well, but what Eli, what if users complain about me to the management, if I go there and I say I'm gonna do the work order and then the users go to the management. But here's the thing, right? If you do your job well, if you are transparent, if you are honest, then when that user goes to the management to complain about you, you can walk into the manager and you can say, listen. And the user is and you go, yeah, manager, look, I've got 15 work orders to complete today, right? How long do you think it's going to take me to do each one of these work orders? It takes 30 minutes to an hour to do each one of these work orders, right? Oh, okay. Well, I went to go fix their computer. They refused to give me the computer when I had time to fix their computer. Well, it's like, look, I don't have enough time. I do my 8-hour shift and then I go home. If this person wants their computer fixed, I need to be able to do. Right? What are they going to do about it? And again, like I say, when it comes to the CEO and all that, those higher ups and they're pushing you, is again, you just have to realize, you have to think about it. And what you have to ask yourself is not, are you vital to the company? It's not whether you're vital to the company. It's whether the company in this current job is vital for your career. Right? And that's sometimes, again, I'm not against working 100-hour weeks. Again, I've done enough 30-day months. I've done enough 24-hour days. And there's some times that you do it. But the reason that you do it is because it makes sense for your career. Again, I worked at one company. I did a 30-day month. I worked 15 hours a day, 30 days in a row. But the reason is because my entire infrastructure across all of my offices were screwed to hell and back. It was all fucking duct taped together, right? And so I did that because by just doing all of that work at one shot, I was able to get everything on a stable keel, so that going forward, everything was much better. I literally went from 25 work orders a day to 8. Like, if you looked at it, before I worked the 30-day month, I had 25 work orders a day. I do the 30-day month, and then after that, I have 8 work orders a day. It made my life a lot easier. That was good for me. That was good for my career. Again, when I was going out and doing build-outs and these other things, yeah, I could have given my boss the middle finger and said, no, I'm not going to do it, but then I would have gotten pulled off of $500,000 build-outs. Again, as far as career, that was my career. Yes, I was doing a lot of extra work. I was working those 60, 70-hour weeks, but that was something that I could put on my resume. Again, it's for me, not simply for the business. And that's one of those things that you have to think about and that you have to weigh. When the person is saying, oh, you're vital, are they really saying that you're vital, or are they saying, I really want to pay for a mortgage payment in a condo in South Beach? Right? Because that's one of those things that happens. So this was a rather long-winded explanation of being an asshole as a tech professional. But the one thing, whether or not you think I've said asshole way too many times, I should have like a little beeper. Asshole, like 1, asshole 2, like a little counter at the bottom. But whether or not, but this is something that I see a lot, especially as technology professionals. They're like, oh, Eli, but I don't want to be seen as. And the issue is the reality is the core of our profession is a brutal profession. And again, that's why I get so frustrated with people. Is again, we are the destroyers. We are the destroyers. Creative destruction. Creative ain't us. When you're dealing with IT, when you're dealing with technology services, our job is the destruction. We are there to eliminate jobs. It is somebody else's job to create jobs, but we are there to eliminate jobs. So when we walk into the environment, if you're never willing to be considered an asshole, if that is just something that is too far beyond what your mind can take, again, that's where I would argue you should look at a different profession, because this is a harsh world. From the core of what we do, we destroy other people's work. That is what we do, right? When you get on teams, again, you are going to be paid and all that based on how the project works. If you have a lazy person, or if you have a person that's not keeping up on the team, you need to get rid of them. If the boss won't do it through pleasant means, it means sometimes you got to be a little unpleasant to get it done. When you're dealing with the users, then the users will try to manipulate you 9 ways from Sunday, and they're all going to say, well, the other IT person was nice. I remember when we had a nice IT person. And you can look at them and go, yeah, and they ran for the hills, didn't they? But I'm the IT person you got. Right? And then, like I say, with those CEOs and those managers, they will. Again, they look at you as an organic system. The way you look at trying to overclock a server, the way you look at that server, and you're like, I wonder if I can do a couple of extra tweaks and just get an extra 10% out of it. They're looking at you at the same way. And if you're not willing to accept the mantle of asshole or bitch or any of that kind of thing, life is not going to go well for you in this career field. Again, that's where, like I say, any professionalist feel. Like I say, when you go and talk to Ron, like I say, I love Ron. Ron's a great guy. Dude, he can be an asshole. Ed, my man Ed, he's a great guy. He can be an asshole. Every single prominent person that I know in the technology world can and generally is a bit of an asshole. If they're not being if you look at them, you're like, whoa, no. But this person's not an asshole. Eli, you don't understand. This person's not an asshole. No. They're not being an asshole to you. Again, I remember that with one business person I knew. It was really kind of cool. They were designing a robotic car garage. It's like you would drive your car on this little sked thing, and then you get out of the car and you plug in your credit card, and it like robotically takes your car up, and that's the idea of the parking garage. And I remember, right, everybody that worked with the CEO thought the CEO was a complete and utter asshole. Like, all of them, whether they respected him or not, whether they profited off this person or not, everybody thought this person was an asshole. And then it was funny because being a computer guy, I worked for the person at their job, at the company that they owned, and then I also did homework. Work at their house because they needed to work at their house. And the weirdest thing in the world was when you went to the business environment, everybody, even the people that respected the person, even the person that actually liked the person, thought they were a complete asshole. You went home and you dealt with their housekeeper, and you dealt with the people that actually interacted with the person in the home environment, and they said that guy was the most loving, wonderful family man you would ever know in your life. And again, that's one thing to think about when this whole asshole thing is, that's what I talk about with here, is you may see me on these videos and I come off very harsh, right? But this is videos. This is situational. When I deal with my wife, I'm not nearly as so harsh. It can be a little harsh sometimes, but you know what I'm saying? When I'm dealing with other people, it's not the same way. So that is one of those things to be thinking about. It's just, if you're going to be successful, I don't know what the hell else to tell you guys. So that is my thought for the day. That is my little video for the week. Just accept we are not a kind, nice profession. At the end of the day, I would argue kind, nice things come out of what we do. But again, that's because other people pick up what we destroy. Other people clean up the ashes that are left behind. And out of that, I would argue a better world is created. But just because a better world is created from the destruction that we have wrought, doesn't mean, we are necessarily the nicest people in the world. So one of those things to be thinking about, because yeah, when I say I taught at silicondiscourse.com, man, I do all those mentorship meetings, and so many people are like, Eli, but I don't want people to think badly of me. What if people think, and it's like, then they do. You walk in, if you need an extra $1 an hour, you tell your CEO you need an extra $1 an hour, or you're quitting. Right? If you look a person in the eye and they know that you're not bluffing, either you give me what I'm telling you to give me, or I walk out the door. That is how you negotiate. That's how I negotiate. Again, all you guys want all these weird little negotiation tactics. I don't do all that horse crap. I just walk in, I deal with the person, I say, this is what I need. If you give me these things, we're awesome. If you don't give me these things, I'm walking out the door. Well, but not necessarily any buts. Are you gonna give me these things or not? Fine. Right? You don't worry, because again, they don't think you're an asshole. That's the worst part about all of this, right? All these geeks are like, but what if people think I'm an asshole? Man, most of them don't really think you're an asshole anyway. Again, most of them are simply doing these weird little manipulation techniques on you to get you to do what they want you to do. At the end of the day, if you just stand up to them, they'll back down, and everybody's happy anyway. So, anyways, those are my thoughts. Again, as I will say, if you're interested in having a mentorship meeting with me or any of the other, I have 3 other mentors now on silicondiscourse.com. Do 50-minute Skype meetings. You get on there and we discuss everything from startup companies to voice over IP infrastructure to how to get ahead in your career. Go over to silicondiscourse.com and you can schedule an appointment with any of us. As always, I enjoyed taping this video and look forward to seeing you at the next one.